You want to farm some Datacrons?
You don't want to farm Datacrons.
I don't want to farm Datacrons.
Greetings and hello there, everybody. It is me, the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Alpha, born in 1972 to a fighter pilot. That's right, I am the Alpha. I am also Nooch Too Good and your Star Wars dad. Welcome aboard. More titles commencing in the future. The question of the day came up the other day during a stream. Somebody asked, I don't remember who it was, and I apologize, but somebody asked, hey, when should I fart? When should I fart? Well, boys and girls, if you feel a little pressure building up in the lower intestines and you got a little pain there, but you clearly, you feel like something solid is not going to come out, release that pressure and have a little fart. That's when you should fart. But when should you start farming Datacrons was the question. I think it's a legitimate question, and I'm gonna talk around the reasoning and the things you got to think about to get there. But for those of you concerned, I'm just gonna wander around and never give an answer. I'm gonna give an answer today. I have a very solid answer for this, but I want to talk about the reasons and what's going into Datacrons and everything else first. So the first thing we got to do is take a look at what Datacrons require of your roster. And you can see here, I've been farming Datacrons for a little while. This is my Star Wars dad account, which I think is about to enter Kyber, boys and girls. But yeah, I've got some max Datacrons here of the 15% health and protection variety. Right up there. I got 3 of those max ones. Are the max ones really helping me all that much? Not really. I've got Swgoh Press at Relic 5. He needs to be at Relic 7 on these. I don't have mission. I don't have talent at Relic 7. So, level 8 was probably good enough for me at that point. I probably should have spent those materials re-rolling more level 8s just to get more and more and more of the abilities out of it. Like this one, protection, crit damage, offense, protection, etc. And get this second one. So, anyway, now they've changed it to Relic 5. So it used to be Relic 7 for max. Now you start at Relic 1 up here, go to Relic 3, and go to Relic 5. Now, they have actually said out loud they aren't sure this is permanent. They want to do some testing. And let me tell you, folks, the testing 100% is around. Are they going to make more money if they open this up to Relic 1, 3, and 5 as opposed to Relic 3, 5, and 7? So, if they make more money at Relics 1, 3, and 5, this will stay open for a while. Oh, just believe you me. So, we just said the requirements of the Datacrons, and this is the number one consideration to take into account. Do you have enough characters that meet the minimums for Datacrons to make it worth farming them for your roster? Do you have enough teams that are full Relic teams? Relic 1, Relic 3, Relic 5. I really think you should... To me, I'm working on getting my entire roster to Relic 5 over time. You can see these guys here are all 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Thrawn is 4, that's because I'm working on him for Sith Eternal. So I really want to, over time, get all these guys at least up to Relic 5. And I started that when Datacrons were in tiers of Relic 3, Relic 5, and Relic 7. So now, with Datacrons at Relic 1, 3, and 5, we don't know if it's permanent yet. Maybe that line gets drawn at 3, and it was kind of why I slowed down with this a little bit and just turned straight to Sith Eternal. Also, just getting a little stale. I actually upgraded about 10 or 12 characters to Relic 5. I'm like, man, I need to do some farming, so I'm back to Sith Eternal farming. So, consider your roster. Do you have these full teams? Hey, if your CLS team is sitting there all at Relic 3 or Relic 5, but your 3PO is Gear 12, well, then you can't use a Datacron on that team. And I think that having 3PO on the team is more important than having a Datacron, so you don't want to sacrifice a character like that. So look at your roster. Is your Sith Empire, are they all Relic 3, Relic 5, Relic, whatever, to fit to the Datacron? So take that into consideration. So first thing you got to think about before you do it, a lot of people will have a Relic Darth Revan, a Relic Darth Malak, a Relic Bastila Shan, then like a Gear 12 Sith Trooper or a Gear 12 Sith Marauder or something. So think about your roster. That's really important. If the entire team is not at the Relic levels required, then it's not gonna matter. So you don't want to have like Relic 5 top characters and Gear 12 bottom characters on your team. So that's number one consideration to take into account. Number 2 is going to be Conquest, and Conquest is not open yet. I wanted to run a little footage here, but I didn't load it up, so hey, all right, I am back with some alpha activities for Nooch Too Good. Hey, Seriously, just playing Conquest a while ago. It was like medium Conquest, I think. But you got to take into consideration when you're playing Conquest. Conquest is the primary place you're going to farm Datacrons. I realize it's also available with Shard Shot currency, but I think that most people who are considering, should I farm Datacrons or should I not farm them yet? You know, should I wait or should I farm them? Really shouldn't be spending Shard Shot currency on Datacrons. That currency for you as a player is so valuable for your relic farming. You know, you're probably like a early to mid game player, maybe even a late game player, I don't know. But that Shard Shop currency is gonna be more important for you for gear than it is for Datacrons at your point of the rush. So as a player considering, should I be farming Datacrons? I don't think that Shard Shop currency is the way to go. But Conquest is your way to go. You really have to look at it. So I think that in normal Conquest, if you're in normal Conquest, which means you're under 4 million galactic power, because as soon as you hit 4 million, you got to get into hard Conquest, because the first crate in hard Conquest is worth more than the final crate in normal Conquest. But in normal Conquest, you have to finish it at least once in order to even get to hard Conquest. So maybe you finish normal Conquest once, or when you don't, and then you start farming those Datacrons at the end of Tier 1, at the end of Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4. You know, look at what you need for those Datacrons. So you can do it in normal. In hard, you really have to consider how much you really want to dig in. You know, I play Conquest every time on both accounts. I play it. I might do 1, maybe 2 refreshes a day, just depending on how many crystals I got, what the situation is, what's going on. I'm not doing, you know, I'm going to start buying actually the Conquest Pass on Nooch to Hyper, because that's my Hyperdrive account. We're full pay to play with that. We're going to start whaling with it soon. So I'm going to start buying the Conquest Pass with that. But my dog, hey! You have to be an alpha with your dog, boys and girls. So start taking into account your Conquest. So when you're in hard Conquest, I have really taken to, and that's why I have, and I'm going to go ahead and close this footage here, just to kind of give you a view of Conquest. I have taken to, on my Star Wars data account, you can see all the Datacron farming that I've done, and the vast majority of this is done. Now you get the calendar, and I did do some Shard Shot. You know, these Datacrons are so valuable. I did do a few of them in the Shard Shop. The 15% health and 15% protection is what I'm talking about. I mean, that's just so beefy, and it makes such a difference on every single team. The new Datacrons don't really have that much going on, and that's another consideration to take into account. You know, so take into account how much you want to spend in how much time you want to spend in Conquest on those final Datacron nodes. Do you have the crystals to refresh and spend that time? I like spending time there. I can finish off the individual feats, the Conquest feats, and I just get the Datacron materials for it. But you know, are these Datacrons gonna help you? So you know, take a look at these. Aren't as strong, although you know they're still Datacrons. They still are upgrading your team for sure. So take all those things into account, and take into account. I guess that's it. Take all those things into account. Now, when did I start farming Datacrons heavily like this? And I gotta tell you guys, for me, the answer was like mid-Erodium. And I'm basing it on Grand Arena. Around the time I was in Erodium 3 and 4, you know, somewhere in that range, I made the decision, I'm really trying to get to Kyber here. I really want to push to Kyber. And if I'm going to push to Kyber, I need something to set my roster apart. You know, I've got 2 GLs on my roster. I've got my Executor. And I'm running up against accounts that have, you guys have seen it, 3, 4, 5. I just beat a guy with 7 GLs. I just alphaed on a guy with 7 GLs. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, you need something that's going to separate you from the pack. And boys and girls, that's Datacrons. So I really believe somewhere in that range of you are in at least 3.5 million, 4 million galactic power. You've got a roster with several, multiple full teams of relic characters. You know, for a long time I didn't farm Datacrons because I was missing those. I only had like 2 or 3 teams that qualified, so I needed 2 or 3 Datacrons. Didn't make any sense to have a bunch more. But now that I've got a roster full of, I don't know how many I got here, 40, 50, 60, 80, relic characters, now is the time when I really need to dig in. So I get into Conquest. I'm not as concerned with getting to that final crate. It's not really my goal is to get to the final crate. My goal with Conquest is get as far along as I can, get as big a crate as I can without. I'm not gonna play this thing for an hour a day. I'm just not doing it. Not playing Conquest for an hour a day. But I can put together multiple teams that can auto, the end of phase 1, the end of phase 2, the end of phase 3, where I can get all those Datacron materials to upgrade my Datacrons, and I can add all these Datacrons. So somewhere when you hit in a Rhodium with your galactic power, with your Grand Arena performance, when you're really performing, when you got the roster that can hold the Datacrons and use the Datacrons, that is when you start farming. When you want to get to Kyber, when you want to set your roster apart in Grand Arena, and yes, I know they apply to Territory War and Territory War only as well. That's great. Maybe your guild is really big into that, and that's what you want to do. But mostly, I think most of us look at Grand Arena. That's when I'm looking at it. Roster full of relics. Climate. You want to get into Kyber. You want to set your roster apart. You want to push ahead forward. That's going to happen somewhere. I think it's going to happen somewhere from almost every player in a Rhodium, probably that mid Rhodium range, 3 to 4, somewhere in there. You're going to want to start farming Datacrons. That's my answer. Don't farm Datacrons when your roster's not ready. Take a look at what you want to do with Conquest, and make sure you're ready to climb and set yourself apart in Grand Arena. That's when I started farming Datacrons. That's when you can start farming Datacrons. Everybody, hope you have a great day. I will definitely talk to you soon. And of course, always remember, Nooch too good.